Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming at the FCCJ. Sorry if we don't have vacant places. People who are standing keep standing. Anyway, I am Pio D'Emilia. I'm going to chair this press conference this afternoon, which is, I believe, very, very important because it's an issue that has been little by little approached and somehow solved in many, many countries. But Japan, despite Japan not being a confessional state, despite not having an official religion, if you think that even a country like mine, Italy, was able last year eventually to approve a same-sex law, yes, so that we have now officially the chance to have a same-sex legal status. And just for your information, we have now in our government two gay vice ministers who are going around hand in hand. So I think I'm very proud of this achievement from a Catholic country. But on the same time, in Japan, there seems to be no development. We will hear from our speakers today if there is something boiling up. But while Taiwan is the first country in Asia, I think, in East Asia, to have officially approved the same-sex status, Japan, no. We have, I am just confirmed with our speakers, we have one lesbian member of the parliament, Otsuji-san. She was our guest many years ago when she first tried to become a member. She didn't make it that time, but this time she did. But a part of that, and a part of some little municipalities, like I think in Setagaya, where it's possible to get some kind of recognition, but I'm sure they will explain more about that. The rest of Japan seems to be totally uninterested in going forward toward the recognition of this reality. So today we have three speakers. Hiroshi Ikeda, who's co-chair of Partnership Law Japan. Yoshie Yokoyama, lawyer, my far right. And Ken Suzuki, professor of Meiji University of Chinese and Taiwanese law. I think that we decided that you go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so please start your presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for introduction of us, Mr. D'Emilia. I am one of the two co-leaders or co-chairs of Partnership Law Japan. Partnership Law Japan was established in 2010 when the administration was Democratic Party of Japan. Since then, we have been always talking to the government and the Diet members, and then sometimes local bodies, and then other people, or people in general, trying to get a legal recognition as well as legal protection support for the same-sex couples and partners. Let me first sort of introduce ourselves first in a row. I am the co-leader, and then I myself have been living with a New Zealander partner about 23 or 24 years already. But in our case, more than 20 years ago, I kind of needed to design my life given, well, within assumption that Japan was not going to be very friendly to gay partners, especially when one of them is a foreign. That's why somehow I have sort of ended up designing my life, sort of living in various places over the world. So we have been sort of facing that kind of difficulty all the time. And then first, ちょっと自分の名前言います。
Hey, my name is Ken Suzuki. I am professor of Meiji University, especially study Chinese and Taiwanese law. ここから日本語させていただきます。長い間北海道札幌で、ゲイレズビアンの権利獲得のための運動をしてきました。
I have been working on gay and lesbian rights in the Sapporo city for a long time.
で昨年から札幌市に同性パートナーシップ制の創設をお願いし、今年の6月1日から札幌市ではパートナーシップ制が始まりました。
Last year, we really requested Sapporo City to establish same-sex partnership regime, and then this year, since June, it has been in place.
で半年経ちましたけれども、今のところ32組のカップルが登録を済ませました。
Already half a year has passed, and then 32 couples have registered their relationship with Sapporo City.
これまで日本では同性カップルを法的に扱う仕組みがありませんでしたが、2015年に渋谷と世田谷から始まった地方の自治体レベルでのパートナーシップ制が始まって、ようやく日本でも同性カップルを法的に扱うということが動き始めたというふうに考えています。
There was nothing really about same-sex relationships in Japan before, but finally in 2015, as you may know, Shibuya Ward, Setagaya Ward, and other local bodies started developing some local regimes to recognize same-sex couples. So finally, same-sex relationship has been addressed, or has started being addressed in Japan legally.
で今のところ自治体の制度には法的な効力はございませんけれども、この動きが深まっていけば、各自治体に広がり、そして、国に影響する、あるいは裁判所に、関係を法的に認めてもらうということになれば、事実婚としての効力が広がっていくということを期待しています。
At this moment, those local bodies, local ordinances have no legal effect. But if with this movement going on, gradually it will affect the country's policy as well as affect the court decisions. And then later, somehow, it will come into some sort of law. That's what I hope.
で私自身18年間台湾人のパートナーと日本で暮らしております。で配偶者としての在留資格を取れませんので、最初は修学ビザで学校に通い、その後日本で就業し、就業ビザを取って今日に至っています。で多くの同性の国際カップルが日本にはいますけれども、その人たちの共通の悩みの一つはビザの問題であります。
I myself have been together with a Taiwanese partner. Since he couldn't get a spouse visa, he first went into study and then getting student visa, and then later got a job with a work permit. So this is the way lots of same-sex international couples, they are all suffering, or most of them are all suffering from visa issues.
で今年、初めて日本で、裁判で、同性カップルの、法的保護の必要性が問われる事例が現れました。それは台湾人の、ゲイの方が、23年間日本に、同性カップルでお暮らしですけれども、オーバーステイになりまして、入管わかりました。台湾人の事件が初めて、裁判所に提起されましたので、それをきっかけにですね、この、同性カップルの法的処遇の問題について、国際カップルの、在留資格の視点から、その社会に訴えたいというふうに考えるようになりました。
as we will discuss the first court case about international same-sex couples, which is virtually the first court case to discuss same-sex relationships in the Japanese court system. With this first court case, the issue on international same-sex couples will be highlighted in the court as well as in the politics in general. ちょっとここら辺でよろしいですか。
日本ではこれまで、同性間に婚姻を認めるように裁判所に、訴えを出した事例がございませんので、今回は初めてのケースになります。私たちはそれについて、社会により知っていただくためにですね、今度の日曜日12月10日に明治大学で、シンポジウムを開催いたします。それについて皆さんのご関心を持っていただければというふうに思いまして、今日この会見を設定していただきました。
Regarding the first court case we have just mentioned, we'll have a symposium on this Sunday at Meiji University. So we would like to draw broad attention from within Japan as well as from abroad. That's why we have planned this symposium. はい、じゃあ自己紹介。
I'm Yoshie, Yokoyama, an attorney. I belong to Partnership Law Japan and Gender Diversity Committee of Daini Bar Association. And I'm one of 8 attorneys who are representing in this case. I'm explaining later.
Yeah, so let us get into the Taiwanese case from here. But before that, our group, Partnership Law Japan, as well as people in the community, we have all known there are lots of cases where international same-sex couples have been broken up, torn apart with this visa issue. But we've never really got statistics or how many are suffering concretely, since most of the things are happening only under the water. But for example, in 2015, just 3-4 years ago, we have got an email from another LGBT group about an Indian guy who was about to be deported. He wrote in English, "We've been together for a long time. We lived in India, but unfortunately the law in India has changed and it is now a criminal activity again to have gay sex in India." That's why they shifted to Japan and then they have lived for a while happily. But then I have run out of my visa and then no employer is giving me any work permit or any employer will support, no employer will sponsor a work visa for me. That's why we are heartbroken and completely shattered. He wrote it. And then I am hoping against hope that you can help us. You means groups like me, us, or another LGBT group. You can help us in some way, please. So I felt very painful, but at that time we couldn't do anything. But finally, as Mr. Suzuki mentioned, we have got this law court case where we can argue it is whether it is constitutional to let same-sex partners go away from Japan by breaking up same-sex couples. So here, I will have Ms. Yokoyama explain the outline and the point of that court case.
Okay, let me explain the outline and backgrounds of this case.
Your handout is basically kind of writing details of that as well.
Mr. G, who got a visa, very short time visa, but the visa had expired since 1994. But he had decided to live together with his Japanese male partner. And they stayed for a very long time, over 24 years. helping each other, especially after Mr. G diagnosed HIV positive in 1995. With his partner's dedicated support, he has been taking medical treatment on regular basis. And with attorney's advice, he has prepared for turning himself into the authority, seeking special permission to stay. And he had to prepare before turning himself up, because he couldn't make his living until getting special permission to stay. So he had to save money with his partner. But unfortunately, last June, he was arrested as an overstayer by a policeman in Shinjuku. And after that, he sought special permission to stay, but Tokyo Immigration Office ruled against him. So he had no choice but file a lawsuit to live together with his male partner. And he filed a legal action to Tokyo District Court to revoke deportation disposition against the Japanese government, which, as far as I know, it's the first case in Japan. And we are arguing it's illegal and unconstitutional for the authority not to grant the special permission to stay, mainly because their same-sex relationship is not legalized in Japan, and the necessity for protecting their relationship is low. But there are some cases where even unmarried, de facto foreign heterosexual partners have been granted to stay by court decisions on humanitarian grounds. But Mr. Z, for Mr. Z, the authority seems to take any consideration into their relationship. And the government argues the Minister of Justice has a very broad discretion in deciding to grant special permission to stay. But the court may revoke the disposition, but it's a very limited case. Only when the disposition has been made beyond the board of discretion power or through abuse of such power. It's a very challenging case. But in addition to that, the government is arguing that whether granting to special permission stay is just a favor, just a sole discretion of Justice, Minister of Justice, with a standard. But actually, there are guidelines. The guideline which shows positive and negative elements and the actual cases, they have been released by Minister of Justice. According to the guideline, it is especially a positive element when the spouse who is married with Japanese has lived together for a long time as a couple, helping each other, and their marriage is stable and mature. For example, they have a child. And even if they are not married, de facto marriage couple has been granted, being taken consideration into their de facto marriage relationship. But in this case, there seems no consideration into their relationship. That's a problem. So we attorneys are arguing it violates Constitution, Japanese Constitution, It's concretely the violates the right to pursuit of happiness.
Those points, on the page 3, in the clause where we put legal basis for both sides, we sort of list the points she's mentioning for Mr. G's claim.
Yes. So take a look at this handout, 3 pages. For Mr. G's claim, we are arguing it violates the Constitution, Article 13, the right to pursuit of happiness, and the 14, equal protection article, and the Article 24. It guarantees individual dignity in choices informing families, and also violates international covenants on human rights.
So it really feels like that's a discrimination only on the point of whether the relationship is heterosexual or homosexual or same-sex relation. That's why we are bringing this case to the court, and then we would like to have it as a sort of flagship court case. So anyway, what we really want to appeal to the society, that the core message is, of course, stop breaking up families of international same-sex couples. But if we kind of paraphrase it, we really want to kind of appeal these 3 points. First, the country government, or probably the Diet, as well as the administration, should amend immigration law and regulations to accommodate foreign same-sex partners of Japanese as the first step. What we think here on the word as the first step is, we wrote the point in the kind of on the first page. Yes, as Ms. Yokoyama said, it's within discretion of Justice Ministry, about these things. But they have created a measure where a foreign person who comes here with a legal visa, if he or she has got a same-sex partner, if they are both from countries of same-sex marriage, in this case Italy is excluded since they take the rigid definition of marriage, then they give their his or her partner some sort of visa or some sort of status. But in other cases, especially when people are from other countries, they cannot enjoy this treatment at all. But although in the paper which they passed in the administration, they say they thought they needed to do it on a humanitarian basis, but it sounds like a foreign businessman or woman coming here, if he or she happens to have a same-sex partner, the government wants to accommodate the partners. But other than that, it really sounds like it. That's why, as the first step, we would like them to change the regulations. Regulations means what they can change in their discretion. If they change some regulations, they can actually let this Taiwanese guy who went to the court properly stay in Japan. So we would like them to do this first as the first step. And then, secondly, give resident status to all same-sex partners, couples, not just those from countries with same-sex marriage. So this is what I already explained. So, that kind of discretionary regulation or measure sounds like kind of it's done for pro-business. That's what we feel. And then the last one. Our group, Partnership Law, is part of another group which is called Japan Alliance for LGBT Legislation. This group is talking to the government, the Diet's cross-party study group on LGBT issues. That's written down in the handout as well. So there, yes, cross-party Diet members, they are starting to discuss what they need to do about LGBT issues or sexual orientations and gender identities. But somehow they haven't come to discuss same-sex couples or same-sex partner issues at all yet. So we would like them to discuss that and then do something about, or they should have a kind of comprehensive policy on this, including Japanese same-sex couple as well. So this is what we basically would like to emphasize. これ大体言ったかな。大体言えたんじゃない？
Okay.
Then, if you have questions, or if you do not, I mean, I have sort of one interesting piece of survey result I can talk about.
I think they will have questions, but if it is not long, you can keep on.
Okay.
How long is it?
I mean, there are lots of interesting points on this issue, but as one kind of basis for us to argue, why don't you legalize same-sex couples, or why don't you legally recognize same-sex couples, is this survey was done in 2015, 2 years ago, by a group of mostly university teachers, as sociology teachers or those people. And then, although other media, including Japanese newspapers, have done opinion poll on the same kind of issue, but I believe this is the best design in terms of statistically significant, picking up statistically significant sample. So it is representing the whole general public opinion of Japanese people, ordinary people. There, the question goes, do you agree or disagree with legalizing same-sex marriage? There, although sort of passively agree, or rather agree, that proportion is rather big, but already as a total of agree and rather agree, that's over majority. While people who are against is already less than majority. So somehow lawmakers in the Diet, we believe they are not really representing the general public's opinion very well in the Diet. That's what we feel. And then there is another interesting bit. When they break that survey result down by age group, we clearly find younger people are fine, or more of younger people are agreeing with same-sex marriage as a legal thing, while people in 60s and 70s, there are still a lot of them who are against the idea of same-sex marriage. So in a way, as you know, the Diet members, especially in the Japanese Diet, they are rather older. And then we feel they may be just representing opinions of their age bracket only. So yes, they are chosen by elections, but for each issue, we would like them to represent the general public opinions very well. That's what we feel.
Thank you very much for your presentation, very clear-cut. Actually, something that happens in many other countries, that the politician world is back toward the progress of society. I mean, this happens in many countries, I believe. So, do you have any question from the floor, please? No questions? Okay, I'll try to warm up. regarding the treatment of foreign partners, what about the treatment for, let me concentrate because in English it's difficult, for foreign partners who are not married but of different sex? Is that clear? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I remember many years ago when maybe 25 years ago, I myself had a girlfriend that I wanted to invite to Japan, and I applied, and I got her a permission to stay as family. Now, probably it was out of discretionality, but I succeeded. I hear from other people that they don't succeed. So, is there an official situation for that, or is it totally discretional again? Because the term discretional sometimes ends up to be arbitrary. It's very difficult to make the difference between discretionality and arbitrariness in English.
Yes, I mean, as far as we know, especially in the case of Filipinos, as you may know, Filipino people cannot get divorced once they are married. Mm-hmm. That's why there are usually more ladies who are working in Japan being married legally, and then they may be a bit already away from their husbands, but they cannot divorce legally. Mm-hmm. And then quite often they end up meeting Japanese men, and then they sort of try to settle down. In some cases, they get kids here, mm-hmm. and then somehow the Filipino ladies may be found out staying here illegally.
Yeah.
In these cases, there are a few cases where, actually, this is the point Ms. Yokoyama explained. In some cases, not the authority, not the immigration authorities, but some courts gave them special permission to stay. So this is a really discretion. So I guess your girlfriend was very lucky at that time.
No, she got the visa from the embassy in the country. She didn't get it here.
Okay.
Before coming, she stated that she was going to rejoin. We were living together. We had a dose situation, which in Italy at that time was somehow legally recognized, not like now. But there was some kind of recognition. You could say, in Japan also you have dose.
Dose it's called de facto relationship.
De facto, exactly. In Latin is okay. Thank you. I need some question from the floor. Okay, good. We have a volunteer. Please come to the microphone. You have to state your name, affiliation, gender, whatever.
はい、私はステファニー・リトノと申します。カナダ大使館で働いています。私の質問はこれです。You stated earlier that for couples that get married or that comes from countries where there is some legal protection for same-sex couple, the situation is different. So in the case of a Japanese person living with a same-sex partner coming from a country where same-sex marriage would not be recognized, but that travel to a third location where same-sex could be recognized, get married, get the legal documentation to do so. In that case, what would be the effect of the specific condition on their like situation of living in Japan and being able to being recognized as a couple in Japan. So basically, one Japanese, one non-Japanese from a country where same-sex marriage is not recognized, being legally recognized in a third country
Yes.
by another legislation, how would that affect their ability to get recognized by the legal system here in Japan? 以上です。
全くない。
わかりました？
Yes, I think so. Actually, all the very best documentation from the ministry we obtained doesn't state the details. For example, an American citizen can marry, for example, a Chinese citizen in the US. So that same-sex marriage is recognized in the US. And then if they come here, whether that American citizen who has got a job offer or job work permit can bring his or her Chinese partner here, that's kind of vaguely written. So, but as far as we collected information, in this case, the Chinese citizen's origin country, China, doesn't have any same-sex marriage. That's why Ministry of Justice here seems to, or sounds like saying no. But there again, there is a kind of discretion issue. I mean, we cannot get really clear explanation in every case. Do you think this is answering your question? Or your question was anyway. Some people who are not really hold on.
For example, there is a person that lives, for example, before Italy had these things, okay? Yeah. I know people that went from Italy to Spain or to Argentina. They get married there. They have a certificate of marriage. They come back to Italy, and then they are officially married because we recognize a foreign marriage certification. What would happen in Japan for such a couple?
Okay, in that case, Japan doesn't recognize that foreign marriage status at all. They say within the Japanese legal system that is not a marriage. That's why they don't do anything. So that's why we pointed out the second point. I mean, for example, yes, I mean, for example, American couple, once an American person gets a job and then comes here legally, then this American person can let or give his or her partner a legal, visa here. So, only foreign to foreign ones who are from same-sex marriage countries are treated special. They are getting special treatment. So which is very sort of double standard. So that's what we are kind of claiming or appealing.
It comes to me another issue. I don't know if this is, it is related to the more general issue. I remember the case of a Japanese national that wanted to marry in, I think it was Argentina, with a local person. And when you get married, you have to ask from your country the certification of eligibility of being married. For example, that you are single, right? I don't know how to call it in English, but that you are a single person and you are able to marry. And I remember this very bizarre issue because he asked this documentation to his embassy in Argentina, the Japanese embassy. The Japanese embassy said, yes, come back in 2 days. Then when he came back, they asked him who he was going to marry. And when he showed that he was a man, the Argentinian embassy of Japan said, we cannot issue that because you cannot marry with a foreigner, with the same sex. I mean, this is legal. I mean, I don't think that the Japanese government can.
Well, actually, that's an interesting detail. It was this situation was amended. あれ、稲田さんが作った結婚首なんだ要件首書のに性別を載せるっていうのをやめたのいつだったか覚えてる？
あ、やめたも？
About 2 years ago, we believe. Yes, before that, one lawmaker, one Diet member insisted when Japan issues a eligibility certificate to a Japanese citizen who is trying to marry a foreign national person, there should be a box where they need to show the other side's gender. So under the assumption that the Japanese government, I didn't think they clearly said we will say no, but they insisted on having a gender box. That's why when the Japanese authorities gets that request from a Japanese citizen overseas, they can see, he's going or she's going to marry a person of the same sex. Then, I don't know, they probably issued.
They eventually issued, but it was a very long and controversial. I remember this was a case because this documentation should be just a documentation, should not depend on who you are going to marry, whether you are a single or not, whether who you are going to marry is not.
I guess their concern is only double marriage. Or, I think.
Okay. Any other question? We still have a few minutes. No? Yeah. Okay. We have 500 yen for each question.
すみません。2番目の質問は、憲法についてです。In the Constitution, there is a clear guarantee and that protects basically against discrimination. Being Canadian, we do have such an element in our Constitution, but I was just wondering if you can just speak about the actual reach of that legal protection, because it seems like it's quite different than what I am accustomed to in the Canadian system. ありがとうございます。
どうぞ。要するにその平等原則がどれだけこう適用されてるか。
平等？平等は結構適用されてるよ。
訳しますよ。どういう？
14条ですね。憲法14条に法の下の平等って規定があります。で、平等違反で違憲になっているという事例はございますので、可能性がないことはないと思いますけれども、同時に日本では24条というのがあって、それについては異なる解釈がございます。
As this paper, as your handout says, Article 14 of the Japanese Constitution stipulates the discipline of equality. So there are incidents which are clearly against this article, and then they have got a punishment or penalties as well. So generally speaking, it is enforced, we could say. But regarding our issue, there is another article, Article 24, which is actually written down, or it's mentioned in this paper as well. So Article, so the Article 24 itself says for getting married should only be based on the agreement of both sexes or two sexes. That's why regarding this writing, there are different interpretations. That's why the marriage issue is kind of controversial or it's not too clear in the Constitution?
2つの解釈がありまして、1つはボースセックスと書いてますので、これは異性婚についての規定であるということは確かです。でじゃあ同性婚についてはどうなのかということになりますと、異性婚についてしか規定していないので同性婚は認められていないというふうに考える立場と、同性婚については憲法は沈黙しているので法律によってそれを認めることはできるというふうに解釈する立場と2つございますが、最近の学会では後者の立場が、すなわち、民法によって、同性婚を導入することは可能であると、憲法はその点についてはオープンな立場にある、ないしは24条の2項、それから13条というのを根拠にすれば、同性間にも婚姻を認めることの方がより憲法の全体の趣旨には合うという立場もございます。その後者の立場は今有力化しつつあるというふうに考えています。
There are two standpoints on this issue. The first standpoint is, since the language says both sexes, that's why the Constitution is stipulating something about the heterosexual marriage only. That's why it doesn't say anything about same-sex marriage. That's why same-sex marriage is not or cannot be recognized or cannot be accepted. That's the first of the two standpoints. The second one is they say the Constitution is basically silent on this issue, whether same-sex marriage is okay or not. The Constitution is silent. That's why civil laws can make it happen or can make it able. So this is one way to go. So now the second one is getting more and more momentum in the academic world, in the legal academic world, or in a more positive way of interpretation. The second clause of the Article 24、これなんて言うんですか、第2項って、24条の第2項は2項ってなんてこれか、これだ、2項は多分あれだ、この個人の尊厳、そうそれです。The close to our paper says the second clause of Article 24 basically respects individual dignity in choices in forming families. So with this, as well as Article 13 of the basically the right to pursuit of happiness, with these things, they, people in this school, they are more positive on, just with a legislation, Japan should be able to legalize same-sex marriage. That's the interpretation. So on this issue, let me add something a little bit more. I mentioned the National Association, which is abbreviated JAL, Japan Association for, Japan Alliance for LGBT Legislation. They are pushing LGBT non-discrimination law to the cross-party diet study group. So they are considering, but basically many Western countries have got already comprehensive non-discrimination laws, including nationality, race, gender, those things, religions or those things. So there, it has become sort of a standard to include sexual orientation as well as gender identity. So we are basically insisting, please make one law equivalent to that for LGBT issues, which is sexual orientation, gender identity.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's time to wrap up here. May I remind you all that partnership law is holding a symposium, right, on Sunday, December 10, from
just
2.
the day after.
Yeah, from 2
No,
to,
sorry, that's 3
to
days.
5. At 1:30 it opens up. Anyway, you will have in the handout in the Surugadai campus of Meiji University, and I think it's if you have particular interest in the issue, you are welcome to join. Right?
So the Taiwanese guy will appear there, although we don't want the press or the media to publicize his face, but he will, talk with his words, and then you can interview him after the symposium. So I hope
he's a free person now. He's not.
Well, actually, he's sort of under custody. So to come up to that venue, he needed to get a permission from the authorities.
I see. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and see you at the next.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.